My first Frostbloom video wasn't very in depth and didn't show items from top down. It was just quickly to show the items because they weren't viewable in game at all. So here they all are again, individually inspected, and some of my thoughts on the items and their prices. All of the prices I reference in this video are in AUD, which is my local market currency. If you want to know what those prices are in USD, it's about 30% less. The Wraith King item is about $980 right now. Here it is with the taunts available and both of the Arcana styles. If a hero has an Arcana and taunts, I'm going to try and use them in this video, but I haven't done that for all of them. The CM item is the most expensive Unusual Frostbloom. I think it's really good. You compare this with the Dragon's Hoard Unusual Headpiece in Gold Glow, which isn't very expensive in itself, and together they look really cool in game. The CM armor piece is around 1,400 and has two different styles. Alchemist has two Unusual Frostbloom weapons. This one is really expensive, about $750. It's listed for, but they sell for more realistically around 500. Crownfall Unusuals are coming out for Alchemist when they're tradable, but they're also weapons, so they can't stack. Primal Beast's item is the cheapest tier 3, it's about 175 for good reason, it's not very good. The particle density is really low and it's hard to see the item itself in game. It's just not very good. The AA item I think is really cool. It's about 375, so it's not cheap, but you can stack these in the future with the Crownfall set. The Crownfall Unusuals are strange because every piece of the set is possible to drop, so this is one of the very few heroes where you can have an entire hero loadout that is unusual. Snapfire is a really small item. It's priced into the market, I think it's about $250, but the item is so small. I think Snowdrift is a better buy at this price. So the Arc-Warden headpiece has a bug where the particle effect delays behind the hero. I don't think it's very good. And these aren't traded often on the market, but they're super expensive. It's about $1,000, but realistically they're selling for closer to 800. If you like the bug and you like the hero, then by all means go for it, but I don't think it's a good deal. The Tusk Jingle Fist is really cool. I've looked at this item a lot in all the different variants. It's about 600 quid on the market right now. It fits really well with the hero and the effect is really good on the item. Spirit Breaker's weapon is $55, but historically it's closer to $40. I don't think it's very good. I've owned this item a few times and I've sold it every single time. The effect is really hard to see because of the hero's own colour and particle systems, and there are definitely better immortals and cosmetics for Spirit Breaker anyway. I wouldn't buy this again. I think Drow's Bow is really good in my opinion. I think it's tremendously undervalued. It's only about $40. If you don't have the Arcana, I think this is a really good alternative. With Frost Arrows toggled on, the effect looks really good and generally fits really well with the hero, but you can't combine this with the Arcana. So there's a problem with these items for ranged heroes. When the item you're throwing is the unusual effect itself, the moving rendered version of that item doesn't have the effect. This is the least egregious version of this bug, especially when you have glaives toggled on for Silencer. It's about $50, but the item effect is cool, so I don't think this is the worst buy for one of the items with a bug. The Ursa item is oddly expensive. It's around $105 to $120. Ursa has quite a lot of items with effect, so I think this one is overpriced, but it's a good item for sure. It's just really expensive for some reason. The Lich item is by far the worst Frostbloom unusual. If you play Lich, maybe you want to pick this up. Compared to the other options, maybe it's good, but it blends in so much with the hero's default particle system, and the item is so tiny, it barely shows up in game. But this is the cheapest Frostbloom unusual you can buy. It's priced into the market that it's bad. It's about $17, and you can pick this up on a good day for like 15. So if you play Lich, maybe it's worth picking up, but I think there are other cosmetics that are better anyway. Maybe not for the arms, but there's better stuff to spend your money on. I think Puck's item is really good. I've kept this item for a long time myself. I think the particles fit really well with the hero, and it turns your hero's head into a blurry mess, which I think is kind of what these items do best. It's about $60 right now. The price has come down a lot as of late. I think the last time I sold one of these, they were about $120. So the supply of these has gone up and people have been buying them less and less, so the price has come down. Tiny's trees have a weird bug where the particle density is really low. The particles look black rather than blue, and they're not very dense at all. I think the item looks fine, but the effect in game is really underwhelming. It's about $95, but it looks fine, and the item itself is really cool. So here's the item with all of the tiny models that you get throughout the game. This is the Toy Maker Pudge Hook. It's really expensive, it's about $1,000. The item loses its particle effects when the hook is thrown, and the effect comes back when it returns to the hero, which is another bug. There aren't many cosmetics for this version of the hero, so it's really expensive, but it looks fine. The Snowdrift item of this isn't very good, but the Frostbloom item is fine, but it's priced into the market. This is so expensive, I don't think it's worth buying unless you really love playing this version of Pudge. I think you're better off buying a really nice loadout for the default Pudge rather than buying this. Batrider's item has the same issue as Tiny's bug. The effect isn't very dense and the particles trend towards black rather than being blue. I don't think it's very good. And I think Snowdrift is better for this item. The Frostbloom version is about $50. Pudge's default version has two Frostbloom items, the Saw and the Hook. They look awesome when they're combined on the hero. Again, the Hook loses its particle effects when it's thrown, which is really annoying. The Saw is way more expensive because of the bug, and being able to combine the Saw with things like Dragon Claws and other Pudge items, I think the Hook is less expensive. The Saw is about $80 right now and the Hook is about $45. Sand King's claws are really cool too. They look good in game. They're coming down in price due to supply on the market and less demand. They're around $40 right now. I've kept these for a really long time and used them in game for quite a while as well. I think it's a good item. The Kotl item is great if you play this hero. It's only $20 in Frostbloom and it looks awesome. It fits really well with the hero, and if you want a cheaper version, the Snowdrift is also a really good buy. The item is just good and it's really cheap. Maybe to do with the popularity of the hero, I don't know, but it's good. When you have his ultimate toggled on and you cast his Q, the item particle effect doesn't show on your ghost version, but it does on your hero, so I don't think that's a big deal. Kunkka's sword is another item that I've owned and I've kept. I think it looks really great in game and you would expect this to be a really expensive item. This video in particular has a bug with displaying the item. It shows like a water effect around the sword, which isn't there in game. I own this item, so here's what it looks like inspected in my inventory. It's surprisingly not overvalued. It's about $35. The troll item is fine. It's $40. Again, when you attacked in range mode, there's no effect on the moving version of the item rendering. I think there are better troll items that are cheaper. I wouldn't buy this item. It's not overpriced necessarily, but I just don't think it's very good. For $40, I think it's not overpriced, but I don't think it's very good. The Invoker item, I think, is maybe one of the best Frostbloom items available. I think it looks really good. The particle density is really high, so it turns your hero portrait into a blurry mess, which is what these items do really well. It's about $95, which is by far the most expensive item from the common tier of the chest. I think it's deserved. It mixes really well with the other Invoker cosmetics and it looks awesome in game. Timber also has 2 items, the chain and the saw. They look really awesome when combined. They're not super expensive. The claw has the same problem as other hooks, but it's so much faster. It's not as big of an issue. The claw is about $30 and the saw is $25. I think these are undervalued. The second Alchemist weapon I think is a much better buy. It's really inexpensive. It's $20, so if you play Alchemist and you just like the Frostbloom effect, this is the one you want. Other than being so cheap, the effect is more dense on this item than the Christmas trees. Get this one, it's better. The Lichen item is not very memorable. If you play Lichen, again, I think it's inoffensive. It mixes really well with other cosmetics, but it's about $30. It's fine. It obviously doesn't show when you're in alt, so that's a bit annoying, but it's fine. It's not a bad item. The Techies item I think is awesome. I use this item every day. It looks really good with or without the Arcana. The Arcana actually changes the placement of the item, whether or not it's on your back or it's the main blaster that you fire. So owning this plus the Arcana is like having 2 weapons in one. I think it's really cool. But watch out, in particular, on the market, this item is flooded with scammers who have gifted the Candy Caster version of this item from an account called Dota 2 with dedication text to Frostbloom. You have to be really careful when you're looking at this item. Once you finally find one, it's about $35. The Enchantress item is the most egregious example of the ranged bug. It's really annoying in game to the point where I wouldn't buy this. And other people I've known who have bought this have stopped using it and sold it as well. The item looks really cool, but when you attack, the item disappears completely, which is really annoying. With Impetus turned on, it's slightly less annoying because the effect on the item is slightly better, but it's still really bad. It's about $20, so it's cheap enough that if you like the item that you might want to go for it, but there are better cosmetics, I think. But I mean, if you're a massive fan of Frostbloom, it might be worth picking up, but the effect is so irritating in game. The Death Prophet item is really cool. I've kept this one for ages also. This is one of the few I still own. It's about $30. It turns your hero portrait into a neon street sign. It's really neat. I don't think it's overpriced. It's very good. That's a lot. Keep an eye out for these on the market. I think they're really cool. If you want to see any of these in particular with other cosmetic items or whatever, you're welcome to leave a comment and let me know. I'm happy to post GIFs or individual pictures for anyone who wants to see a particular hero combination of any items. And I'm going to keep posting unusual videos, not specifically Frostbloom, but other unusual cosmetics and particle effects in the game. So if you're interested, I'm going to keep releasing videos when I can, so feel free to subscribe if you're interested in this kind of stuff.
Radiant's bottom tower is